The air above Bethpage Black still quivered long after the final putt fell. The New York crowd, wild, raw, electric, erupted like a storm breaking loose. Flags whipped through the twilight. Chants thundered, and flashes of red, white, and blue painted the evening sky. It should have been a celebration, the kind of Ryder Cup moment destined for history. But beneath the cheers, a quieter sound stirred. Doubt. Had golf just crossed a line it could never return from? The Ryder Cup has always been golf's heartbeat, a battleground where rivalry meets respect, where passion and honor collide. But in 2025, something broke. Applause gave way to jeers. Excitement curdled into hostility. Cups were thrown, insults flew, and even the most stoic veterans stood frozen in disbelief. What should have been a showcase of unity became a spectacle of chaos. Tom Watson, once the very symbol of Ryder Cup integrity, broke his silence with words that stung. "I'm ashamed." His apology on behalf of American fans was rare, raw, and painful, a confession that something sacred had been lost. That single word, ashamed, hung over the tournament like a dark cloud no one dared to confront. Then came Gary Player, blunt, fearless, furious. The 9-time major champion didn't mince words. The worst event in the world, he said, not because of the golf, but because of everything surrounding it. The noise, he claimed, had drowned out the grace. For decades, the Ryder Cup had thrived on emotion, but this time, that emotion had turned toxic. And as the sun set over Bethpage Black, one haunting question remained. When passion becomes poison, can golf still call itself a gentleman's game? The anger had buried the art. The Ryder Cup hadn't just been played. It had been exposed. The truth had been exposed. Suddenly, it wasn't about who lifted the trophy or who missed a putt. It was about what golf itself had become. If even the legends were losing faith, what was left to believe in? Headlines came fast. Debates came faster. Fans defended. Critics condemned. And the sport's once pristine image, calm, courteous, almost sacred, cracked under the weight of its own chaos. The 2025 Ryder Cup hadn't crowned a hero. It had revealed a crisis. And through all the noise, one man stayed silent. When the dust of Bethpage Black finally settled and the headlines began to fade, the only voice missing was the one that had defined a generation, Tiger Woods. Cameras caught glimpses of him at home in Jupiter, quiet, reflective, detached, a world away from the storm consuming the game. It wasn't indifference, it was intention. Woods understood when silence could speak louder than words. For months, that silence became the loudest sound in golf. Long before the chaos, Tiger had shocked the world by declining the U.S. Ryder Cup captaincy, a move that sent tremors through the sport. Officially, he cited time, recovery, and commitments to the PGA Tour and his tech-driven TGL project. On paper, it made sense, but to many, his no carried deeper meaning. It felt symbolic, as though the greatest player of his era was quietly stepping back from a game that no longer resembled the one he once ruled. Was Tiger protecting his legacy, or making a statement without saying a word? Tiger's history with the Ryder Cup has never been simple. The Express even resurfaced a quote from 1999, when a young Woods called the event an exhibition. At the time, critics dismissed it as arrogance, the mark of an individualist obsessed with personal glory. But now, with hindsight, it sounded different, almost prophetic. Maybe he wasn't mocking the cup, maybe he was warning it. Warning what could happen when ego, spectacle, and noise replace respect, the very chaos that now defined Bethpage Black. For months after the tournament, Tiger said nothing, no interviews, no posts, no comments. Fans filled the silence with theories. Some thought he was angry, others thought he was heartbroken. But maybe, in that silence, Tiger was saying everything. This isn't the game I fought to build. Those close to him saw not detachment, but composure. He wasn't avoiding the chaos. He was waiting for the world to quiet down enough to listen. When he finally spoke, his words didn't echo. They struck. No grand stage, no cameras, just Tiger's calm, deliberate tone. Golf, he said, has always been a game of respect for the course, your opponent, and yourself. There was no anger, only clarity. He addressed the tension, the crowd behavior, the disappointment, but he didn't assign blame. Instead, he reminded everyone that preserving golf's honor was a shared duty. For Tiger, the problem wasn't passion, It was losing control, mistaking chaos for energy. He called on players, fans, and officials alike to help the game rediscover its dignity. In an age when golf was growing louder, Tiger was asking for quiet that he even praised Luke Donald's calm leadership, a subtle contrast to the emotional frenzy that had consumed Bethpage. Without naming names, Tiger made his message clear. True greatness doesn't shout, it breathes. It wasn't a speech, it was a creed. He warned that if golf traded grace for spectacle, it would lose something far greater than trophies. You can't build legacy on disrespect. He said softly that Tiger's word rippled across the sport like a quiet tide reshaping stone. Tom Watson, still shaken by what he'd witnessed, called Tiger's message a breath of truth the game needed. Gary Player, whose anger had once branded the Ryder Cup the worst event in the world, softened, admitting his frustration came from love for a game that once demanded decorum. Tiger reminded us what golf means, he said, and maybe we all needed reminding. Even Jack Nicklaus joined in, calling Tiger's response real leadership, not volume, but vision. From their unity came action. Nicklaus urged reform, stronger referee authority, clearer conduct code for players and fans, real accountability. The outrage had turned to reflection. The noise was fading, replaced by something golf hadn't felt in years. Respect. Across clubhouses, podcasts, and press rooms, one phrase began to echo: protect the game. It wasn't a slogan. It was a mission. Bethpage had stripped golf bare, exposing ego, confrontation, and chaos. But in that rawness, something pure began to grow. Tiger's words hadn't accused. They had awakened. They reminded golf that its greatness was never in the noise, but in its quiet strength. Sometimes, to heal a tradition, you have to break it open first. In the weeks that followed, a calm settled over the sport. You could feel it in the way players greeted each other, in the softer cheers from the galleries, in the more measured voices of commentators. It wasn't perfection, but it was progress. Legends like Woods, Nicklaus, and Watson had handed the game a mirror, and for once, golf didn't look away. The headlines shifted from controversy to awe.